blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Welcome back to Moments with Myra. Today we are diving into a powerful conversation that so many of us need, transforming our relationship with money. Joining me is Shannon Brooks, a coach and motivator who helps people shift their mindsets around finances. We'll be talking about breaking free from financial fears, building healthy money habits, and creating a money mindset makeover that sets you up for freedom and abundance. If you've ever felt stuck, stressed, or even ashamed when it comes to your finances, this episode's for you. Get ready to take notes, open your mind, and start rewriting your money story with Shannon Brooks. Shannon, welcome, my dear. Thank you so much for being on with me.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, can you share your story or your journey a little bit about what inspired you to focus on money mindset?
Sure. A lot of it just has to do with my own upbringing, my own story with money. I grew up back in the late 70s, and I'm a product of Easton here in Winston-Salem. Some people, call it the hood, and I'm fine with that because I always say the hood is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I was coming up, I came up in the dynamics where my mother had become a single Black mother. Her and my father divorced when I was one. I had my grandmother in the house, and I had my great-grandparents in the house. And when you're growing up, and that's all you don't see anything wrong. You don't see any generational curses. You just think this is just life.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up in the hood, I always say we had a lot of love, but we had a lot of lack. And lack meaning that it was times that my grandmother would write out a little note and say, here, go take that over there to sister such and such house. And when I would go over there, I would give the note to her, and she'd say, stand right here, baby. And, back in the day, whenever the elders told you to do something, you did it. So if she said stand right there, I'm going to stand right there.
That's right.
And she would go in her pantry or her go in her garden or whatever, and then she would come back with a bag and say, here, take this back over there to your grandma. And so I do just that. And then sometimes somebody else will come to our house. Hey, can we have this? Do you have this? Do you have that? And my grandma, sure, come on in. Let me see what I got for you. But I tell people all the time that was love because that's what we did to survive. But that was also lack because if we had everything we needed in our household, we wouldn't have had to go out and start asking everybody else for what we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so going a little bit further, growing up, and I finally started getting out more and, seeing the world some, I'm like, wow, like here's some people over here who they never had, lack per se. They weren't in multi-generational homes or whatever. It was mom, dad, sister, brother, whoever. And I started seeing how they were living financially and how I was over here, being raised in lack and with roots of the problem where in my household, it was slavery. Because my great-grandparents were sharecroppers, but they were born to slaves.
Okay.
My great-great-grandparents were slaves that turned into sharecroppers. So in my house, even though I thought it was functioning properly, we had a root of a problem, which was slavery. And from that slavery came financial generational curses that produced lack. And then from that lack produced trauma and triggers. So I just looked at all of that I had to go through. And I said, I'm not the only person out here that had to live like this. I know I'm not. So I based my business off of my upbringing, off of, the mistakes that I made, off of the traumas that I had to go through. And I said, if I can get myself healed from this, I want to be able to do that with other people to help them to heal from their financial trauma as well.
And you know what? One thing that sticks out to me about your story is community. And me knowing you personally, I know that even now you believe in community and paying it forward. So I really, really appreciate that. Because one thing that I've noticed, and you and I have talked about this before, is how people gatekeep information.
Yes.
You know, and gatekeeping information is going to keep us in that lacking mindset.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So that was a huge reason why I wanted to bring you on here, because I knew that first of all, you was going to give us the business,
Oh,
you know,
that.
straightforward and to the point. And secondly, I knew that it's something that you're passionate about. And so I just really, really appreciate you for taking time out of your day to sit down with us so that we can, you know, teach one and reach many more, you know, I think is a very important thing. So was there a personal turning point where you realized you had to change your own financial habits and beliefs?
It was when I got tired of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then both of them would show up at the door at the same time wanting their money back. It was that. It was also, just waking up, just feeling just broke, and just not poor, but feeling P-O. Just waking up, because every day was a struggle. Every day was, okay, what bill is due now? What bill is past due? Which, bill can I go ahead and write this bad check for? And, that'll extend me a few extra days. So whenever they do cut it off or whatever, at least it'll be closer to my next payday or whatever. So it's just living in that. And that's just dysfunction, and that's confusion. And just seeing everybody else, seem like they're getting it, and, or even seem like they're getting by. I'm like, I wasn't even getting by. I was just there, just stuck. And I just said, there's got to be a better way of life. It has to be. It's something is out there. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know how to, get my finances in order or what to do. But then it was almost like I just sat down one day and I called God Sky Daddy. And Sky Daddy, it's like he came to me and he just gave me this blueprint. He was like, everything you're going through is not for you, it's to help somebody else. But now I'm going to give you what you need so that you can get your own finances together. And that's when it came down to the root of the problem, the lack, the trauma, the triggers. I had to overcome that. And see, that's what people don't understand. A lot of times people put a saving sheet in front of us, or a budgeting sheet, or an income tracking sheet. All that doesn't matter whenever your mindset hasn't been reset. You haven't been able to retrain your brain so that you can go back in time and realize, okay, this is where my breakdown was when it come down to my money. So I had to do that. And yes, it was painful. Yes, it was hurtful, but I had to go through it. So like the song said, I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. So once I was able to kind of, get all of that together, that's when I started kind of getting on the right side of money. And I started to understand money, but I also had to sit and say, let me give myself compassion, grace, and mercy, because I didn't have a blueprint. And that's one thing I do believe in when I, do conduct business, is I'm always like, Sky Daddy, let my compassion, grace, and mercy go forward. So that when somebody comes to me and they're in the same situation I was in years ago, I can sit down and say, I got you. I know exactly what you're going through because I've been through it. So yeah, that's when I just woke up one day, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and broke and poor.
And you know what's so important too about your story is transparency. We were raised in a generation where they said what happens in this house stays in this house.
Exactly.
So we don't openly talk about, oh, I didn't have money to pay for my light bill. Or, oh, my car notice is 3 months behind, or whatever the case may be. But the one thing that I'm learning, Shannon, and especially as I get older, transparency is good. I don't care what something I've gone through in the past, how it looks to other people. I don't care if I can tell you and be transparent about something and help you not go through the same thing. So transparency really, really is key. And I wish that more people would understand that and stop worrying about what other people, have to say about them. Because there's a lot of us out here that's even now robbing Peter to pay Paul. And like you said, don't neither one of them got it. So then what we going to do? You know what I mean? So it's so important. So how do those fears show up in everyday life? I'm sorry, I skipped what I was going to ask you. What are some of the most common fears people carry when it comes to money?
I think a lot of times it's the fear of not having it. It is the fear of lack. It's also the fear of not knowing really what to do when you get your money. Because once again, it goes back to mindset. And if you've never had a blueprint to sit down and look at and say, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, or what have you, it's like when you get your money and it comes in, it's like, oh, I don't want to have to go without. I don't know how to save either. So it's like, it's just a rat race. So I think that people fear not having. And sometimes even with that, they hoard. A lot of times when, you have that fear of not having, you can go in somebody's house. And I can always tell somebody that's a hoarder, because sometimes my mama be a little hoarder too, but they don't want to get rid of anything.
Yeah.
And that's fear, because they are scared that they're going to have to go without. They have they have a closet full of clothes. They have pantries full of food, 2 and 3 freezers, for months and months, worth of food. And don't get me wrong, I get it. But a lot of times people do that out of fear of not having, and that fear of lack. But at the same time, not having a good relationship with their money. So not knowing how and where to put their money to even be able to say, I want to see some of this grow.
And that reminds me, I remember when I was first looking into buying a house, and I remember the mortgage broker that I was using. We was talking about money and savings and, that kind of thing. And he had made such a good point, because he said, if you go out to some of these places where these big, fine houses are, he said, look at what they're driving. They driving an old Honda Accord. They driving an old Toyota. They might have one luxury vehicle, but overall, you see them driving older model stuff, and and that shows good responsibility where money is concerned. And so I thought about that, and the one thing that I know, and even myself back in my younger days thought that meant having money or a good relationship with money, was the new Mercedes Benz or the big Range Rover SUV, or those kind of things. But then when you stop and think about it, I'd rather have food in my refrigerator and be driving my 1992 Honda that's going to go on forever, instead of not having any food and can barely put gas in my vehicle. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's so important for people to see, that it's okay to live within your means.
Exactly.
It's okay, because to me, some of the richest people that I know, you would never know it by the way that they dress, the way the cars that they drive, and all of that stuff. So I think that we have to stop equating fine cars and big houses with rich, because it's no use in me having that big $1 million house and I'll have $20 in my bank account.
That part.
Oh, look, I just preached a little bit.
Yes, all it do. I'm looking around here for my Mahalia Jackson fan, so I can, how they do in the choir, preach.
Yes.
About to start out the cry world, because I'm like, woo.
But that's just one of the many lessons that I think about. And I'm not saying that if you can afford it, don't do it. Get whatever it is you want to get if you can afford it. But teach your children that it's okay to start off in that Toyota. It's okay for you to drive the Toyota after you get all your degrees in the big house and the big mansion. You have to teach us that you don't have to just be focused on the material things. You got to build your foundation and have your house in order first, and then go out and buy the fancy cars or whatever, and know that you can take care of it. And I think that's something important, especially for our young people to get. I was watching TV the other day, and T.I.'s son, Damani, I think that's his name, Damani, he's out, rapping and stuff now, and I like his music. His music is good. And he was asked something about the way he dressed, because in all of his videos, he has on like a t-shirt and some jogging pants. And he said when he was growing up, his dad was all about the Gucci and, Louis Vuitton and Versace and all of that stuff. He said, and I remember being young and looking like, how am I ever going to be able to afford that kind of stuff? Because even in that moment, he realized that was his dad's money. That wasn't his money. And so he said that when he started putting out his music, he didn't want other people that were seeing him to have that stereotype where I've got to wear, name brand stuff. So what, Gucci, Louis Vuitton or whatever. I could just put on a t-shirt and some jogging pants and still be fly. And so I thought that message was really, really important, because while I do like LV and Gucci, now I'm not going to sit up here and say that I don't. However, I tend to get the inspired version of them. I'm not getting ready to, if we're going to be honest, I'm not going to be out there. I might get one or two every now and then, fill it up with inspired stuff. But I just think that that's something to think about, because there's so many kids out here that are looking up to not only us, but stars and everything. And I just thought that that was a good message.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
how do you feel that those fears about money show up in everyday life, whether it's spending, saving, or even in relationships? Because honey, money can tear a relationship up.
That part. What I have seen, even talking about even in my life or what have you, a lot of times we spend to overcompensate for what we didn't have as a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part where I say where the trauma and the triggers come.
Mm-hmm.
So even in my own life, I remember growing up, I was an only child, and I thank God every day that I did not get everything that I wanted or whatever, because that kept me humble. So I was spoiled with love and affection.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't spoiled with materialistic things. And so a lot of times when I would ask for things, I was always being told no. Can I have this? No. Can I have that? No. Put it back. And back then you didn't ask why. Like, it wasn't, if you didn't, I did not want to have to feel like I had to get my whole self up out of the Zaire back in the day. I'm aging myself back when Zaire was around, and Brindles.
Yeah.
And and I'm sitting up here like, you bring me in this store, I want to go over here to see the toys, all these toys, and I just want one, but I'm being told no. So as time went on and I finally started working, I was like, I'm not going to deny myself of anything. So at 16 years old, I just went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was already a chunky kid. So, I was, used to getting picked on and everything. So by this time, I'm like, I'm slimming down. People had the nerve to tell me I look like Queen Latifah. I was like, oh, I got to look like this chick now. So, I had, was at Carver at the time. So I'm like, all my money that I had whenever I was in high school would just go into stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was overcompensating for the trauma and triggers that I was going through, and because of how no made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people also kind of fall in that category, because they had to go without, as a child, or they had to be told no all the time as a child. So whenever they finally get a hold of some money, now they going buck wild crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know how to stop, because then it becomes an addiction to something or what have you. And that's what I look at when I see people doing, the overspending and trying to live out, live way above their means or whatever, live outside their comfort zone. And I always say this, and I say to people all the time, I don't say this because I'm trying to be funny, because I was in this situation too. I can always tell where you stand as far as your finances, because poor is loud, rich is flashy, and wealth is quiet.
Oh, yes.
I've been poor, so I've been very loud. I'm still loud, but I'm not loud because I'm poor, thank God. I'm loud because I'm just a little hood every so often, and I'm my father's child. But for the most part, when people are in that poor, they have that poor mentality. Look at it whenever it's tax season. Look at how the malls look. Look how loud the mall is. Look how loud the hood is. Everybody partying. When COVID hit and everybody started getting them stimmy checks, as I called them, and everybody and their mama was out here getting them PPP loans, the hood was off the chain.
Yes.
Everybody had a seafood bowl. Everybody was going to Miami. Everybody was getting them BBLs, music loud, everything loud.
Yes.
And why? Because you have to overcompensate for what you weren't able to get throughout the year, or whenever you're working or whatever, because you're trying to pay your bills. You don't have anything left. But if all you know is just lack, when you finally get something, you don't know how to act.
Oh, it's on and
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. I ain't talking about nobody else. I remember being in the hood and being loud. Let me get my little tax refund back in the day. When I was over at A&T, all of us loud, broke, busted, and disgusted college students, we were loud. Oh my God, refund checks come. We over in Carolina Circle Mall, Four Seasons Mall, just loud, just yelling, got bags. Hey, girl! What you doing? You get ready to go back to campus now? Can I catch a ride? Why didn't I just go directly to her and say that? But I had bags, I had stuff that made me feel good.
And
But
you know, so I can't do anything but laugh because when I was in college in Raleigh at St. Aug and us going to Crabtree, it was the exact same way.
Mhm.
Weirdly enough, when I was away at college, I had the most money, Shannon, that I had ever had.
Mhm.
I mean, like balling.
Mhm.
And as soon as I came back home, I don't know where it went.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the exact same thing. You already always knew when it was time for us to get those refunds, honey. We was tearing Crabtree up. All of a sudden, you know, we had little eateries and stuff that was in the hood because, you know, St. Aug is in the hood. And we had the little eateries and stuff, you know, and for us being fancy, that would be us walking down to Church's Chicken. And honey, when we could go outside of that, and I think back then it was like TK Trips and restaurants like that and Bennigan's.
Oh, Bennigan and Perkins.
Yes.
Yes. You couldn't tell us nothing. I mean, we would go from trying to get that little free iced tea that we could get at A&T at Bojangles. You had to show your student ID, and then we go to Miss Winner's like on a certain night, and then go to Mayflower and get your $2.99 little popcorn shrimp special. But we get them refund checks. We going all the way up there on High Point Road. I'm going back in time. It wasn't Gate City. It was High Point Road. Yeah, we was out there balling. Live. I know they hated to see us broke, busted, and disgusted college students coming in there, them UNCG students looking at us, and we looking at them loud. Why? Because we were poor.
Now, what's one money myth or limiting belief you often see holding people back?
A lot of it is just them just not understanding money. A lot of times it's ignorance, and ignorance does not mean stupid. It just means not knowing. So when people don't know anything about savings or how to properly save or how to properly, I'm trying to get out of saying the word budget, but put themselves in a position where they have positive cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
When these terms are just terms that we just don't use in our families and communities, in churches, or wherever it is that it's predominantly us, that right there can just make it very overwhelming. And when people feel overwhelmed, they're just like, I can't do this. I'm not going to deal with this. Or they don't want to go back and look and see, oh my goodness, I spent all this money over here on this. Why do I have all of this? Like sometimes people don't want to go look at it. But at the same time, it's like, why go look at it if you don't have a plan to get you out of that?
Mm-hmm. And
So
it makes them want to shut down.
Right. So my thing is, I'm like, let's just talk through it. Let's talk. Because once people can talk through where they see this is where I've been going wrong all my life, then now instead of being, overwhelmed, they're like, okay, I got this. Okay, I can do this. But yeah, but that's the main thing, is just being overwhelmed and just being ignorant to financial literacy.
So what are some simple practical habits that anyone can start to improve their financial health?
I would say, first of all, this just, once again, this may be the coach or the specialist in me. Get you a journal. I mean, and I love paper. Like if you look at my desk right now, you'd be like, Shannon, for real. But I keep these little books like this around. Sometimes, it may be something about this big. Whatever you feel comfortable with, get you a journal and just start writing. And that's between you and God, or the higher power that you believe in, if you believe in anything. But even, then write out, something that you can say, I want to do better in when it comes down to my money. But at the same time, write a letter to your younger self to ask for forgiveness, to say, I didn't know back when I was 18 what I know now, but I didn't get a blueprint with it. I didn't understand. I was doing the best I could. I was doing what I saw everybody else do. Mm-hmm. So you have to know how to go back in time and forgive your younger self, because we'll have grace and mercy for everybody else, but we never, extend that same grace and mercy to ourselves.
That part.
So I say, do that part. And then I say, write a letter to where you feel your stronghold is. Most of us as women, our stronghold is our closet. And we may not want to admit it, but our closet becomes our God. because
Yeah.
we worship that. Why? Because everything in that closet is a reflection of us being told no, or having a lack, or just feeling like in order for me to feel good and look good, I got to go get this brand new outfit. I have to go and, get my new Coach bag, or my new Michael Kors bag, or my new Louis Vuitton bag, or whatever. We put all of that into our closet to the point to where it's just packed, and we becoming a pat rack. And I'm like, do you really need 20 pairs of the same color jeans? But oh no, the pocket is different, or this and that. No, you're just trying to go out here and make up for what you didn't have as a child. So I always say, go have a conversation with your closet or your stronghold. It may be your pantry, it may be your garage, but sit down with it. You got to sit with it and be able to say, okay, let me write this letter. Because what I need is to have a release from my stronghold. It's okay to have nice things, but do you really need to have 4 or 5 cars sitting out there, and 3 of them you never touch? But because you had to ride the city bus all your life, your strongholds became your car or your cars. If you knew what it felt like to be hungry all the time, now you got all this food to keep going bad because you're so afraid of being hungry. And if you had to go to school with hand-me-downs, or you had to go to school from the clearance rack, or somebody picking at you, now you got a closet full of clothes and items that you can't fit anymore, that's not even in style anymore, just sitting in there, just taking up space. Write a letter to that stronghold. So now when you start to write the letter, you're starting to release. And whenever you start to release those strongholds, you can then say, let me give some of this stuff away. I got all this food in here. Let me go donate this to my church, or let me go donate this to whoever, that may be in need. I got all these cars. You know what? These 2 over here are paid for. Let me go bless somebody else. Let me go bless that single Black mother. Let me go and bless that single Black father, or whoever. Now you're able to say, now I want to be able to be a blessing because I'm releasing my stuff. So
And you know what? I don't mean to cut you off, honey, but you're stepping on my toes. And I ain't even afraid to tell you. I ain't gonna lie about it. Because when you were talking about the clothes and overcompensating, and I've been a big girl too, my whole life, thick, chunky, fat, whatever it is you want to call yourself. And so my mindset was, as long as my hair was done and my clothes was right, then can't nobody have nothing negative to say about me. And it took a lot of work. And even with my life coaching clients, the reason why this resonates with me so much is because I know they're like, if she asked me to write one more thing, but writing is healing. And that's what I had to do. I had to do the exact same thing to get to the bottom of my why. So I appreciate you so much for bringing that up, because that's so true for anything, not just financially, but emotionally, anything. Writing is the cure to what ails you, so that you can release it. So yes, I appreciate that. So along those same lines, how can someone shift from living paycheck to paycheck towards building stability and freedom?
So once again, once they have shifted their mindset, and now, like I said before, I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. That's when you have to start writing down your goals. So if you say, okay, my short-term goal is to be able to save $25 a month. Because I always tell people, don't overdo it. If you know that you can't save $100, don't write it down. Write down what is feasible and what just makes sense. So I would say, let's start writing down what your goals are. Let's start writing down, your income, your expenses, and your cash flow. Let's see if we can get your cash flow into a positive cash flow. Once people start doing that and they see where their money is going, because a lot of times we live paycheck to paycheck because of that little thing called a debit card. I call it the devil card, or as my great grandma would call it, the devil. And that ain't nothing but the devil. Because that debit card, we'll go out here and just swipe and don't even realize we're doing it. It's just because it just becomes, second nature, whatever. It's like, oh, I'm thirsty. Well, I'm going past the, convenience store. Let me go over here and get me something. And everybody know you're going to the convenience store. You can't just go in there and just get your soda. You got to go in there and get your hot dog. You got to go in there, get a Snicker. You got to go in there and get everything else. So you done came out, spending about $20. Oh, you know what? I need to go over here to the Walmart. You go into Walmart. You go in there for one thing. You come out with so many others. When it come down to going out to eat, okay, we gonna go out to eat, but we're not gonna spend but so much. You get out there, oh, let's try this new appetizer or whatever, and before you know it, you done spent $50. So I tell people, once you start to write down your goals and you start to write down, the money that you have coming in, the money you have going out, and then once you can start to see, okay, I'm spending a lot in subscriptions over here. I'm spending a lot in just going to get that Pepsi. So then that's when I say, okay, now that you see it, now that you're like, if I just change these things up right here, then guess what? Now I may not need to feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And if I'm putting some of that, what I was spending over here. So I always tell people, don't go out here and feel like you got to just be sitting in the house, just alone and bored and just, oh, I would go out today, but I sure enough can't spend any money. Like, no, it's not about lessening your quality of life. It's just shifting some things. So I'm like, okay, instead of going out here getting a Pepsi every time you go past a convenience store, why don't you just go to Walmart, maybe get you 2 or 3 of those big old 3 liters or whatever, get your cup. Everybody love them little Stanleys or whatever. I said, go over here to Gabe's because I got my cup over there for $8. And when I say it holds my ice in like for 3 days, I ain't got no problem with my $8 cup. But go get your big old cup if you like a good old ice cold Pepsi, put you some ice in it and pour your Pepsi in there. So as you riding along doing whatever, your Pepsi is right there. And you don't have to go to that convenience store. Whenever it comes down to, if you say I'm gonna go out to eat, only go out to eat during certain times when they got, like, say, a lunch special, or you get a coupon or something like that. You go out to eat, then. When you go to Walmart with the intent of saying, I'm not even gonna take this debit card. Go with cash. Leave your cards at home. Take your wallet with your license in it. Take you say $200 with cash. So if you go over $200, I mean, you got to put something back. So it's just about being able to just shift, what you're doing. Change your mindset, but now shift the mindset so that now you can see where your money is going. Now, if you say, okay, I'm going to save because I want to go on vacation. I'm going to save because I want to do this, that. Sometimes people say, I don't really, see the need to save, which is fine. I'm not here to judge nobody, but at least know where all of your money is going so you can be a better steward of it.
What roles does discipline play versus mindset play in creating healthy money habits?
Well, actually, to be quite honest, I think it goes hand in hand. I think you have to have, in order to have one, you have to have the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you change your mindset, now you can be more disciplined with your money. But actually, once you start to change your mindset, you're really not even using discipline anymore. You're just getting used to, what your brain, thinks about money. Mm-hmm. So discipline is very important at the beginning. Very important, because you're doing something new. You're doing something that you didn't do before. But once you start doing it and it becomes a habit, and you see it's a good habit, and what a lot of times what gets people like really excited is like, oh my God, I got $100 in my savings account. Uh-huh. Oh my God, I've got up to $500 in my savings account. Well, see, now, they have created a habit of saving. And, like I said, budgeting what they do have, but then seeing their positive cash flow. Mm-hmm. That positive cash flow, at that point, you're like, okay, I don't need anything in to sit down here and go, say I need to go to the mall. And if I go to the mall, I can just window shop, because why? That savings is important to me. Why? I don't want to break my budget. When I go to the Walmart, I'm only going with $100, with me, and I'm going to get the things that I need. Are we going out to eat? Okay, look here. We're going to go out to eat on Saturday, and we're going to go at 10 o'clock, and we're going to take grandma with us because she can get us a senior citizen, or the AARP. Find you somebody over 50 that say, hey, let's go. Oh, yeah, we going. But see, now when you're doing that, really, now the discipline can kind of, in a sense, take a back seat, because the mindset now you're in a position of, you're not thinking about, lack, you're in abundance.
Gotcha. And that shift is so important because that's the one thing that I tell my clients. We're human, so we're going to worry about the bills. We're going to worry about food.
Mm-hmm.
Lack nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you get into that mindset that I don't lack a thing, that starts putting that good energy in there to change it and transforming things. We
Mm-hmm.
lack nothing. No matter, and I say no matter what it look like. I know you got to pay Duke Power. I know you got to pay this. I know you got to pay that. But you lack nothing,
Exactly.
and that's important. That's an important mindset to be in. So when we talk about a money mindset makeover, what does that transformation look like? Immediately, I think freedom in a way, So what would you say that transformation would look like?
It is freedom. It's peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's having I know it's having tranquility, but I'm like having tranquil breezes. As I come from the 90s. I love my tranquil breezes. So I always say tranquil breezes. But and just being able just to have that peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you can, wake up in the morning and say, you know what? Money is not an issue for me today.
That's
Money,
affirmation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Money is not an issue for me today because my bills are paid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching, how I spend. I have a positive cash flow. So now that is, overflowing into my bank account. And being able to look at your bank account and say, you know what, there's a permanent comma sitting in there.
Mm-hmm.
That comma isn't coming because of my direct deposit. And the direct deposit hit it on Thursday, morning, but by Thursday night, it's back down to almost zero because you done paid all your bills. But now it's like, you know what? Okay, I still got a permanent comma over here in my savings. But yeah, I got to pay the bills. But at least I know I got this. That gives people, at least that does for me. Like, I'm not rich or anything like that, but just knowing I can wake up in the morning and just be like, you know what? I want some Starbucks, but I don't really need to go to Starbucks. I got coffee here at the house.
Mm-hmm.
I make my own coffee. I don't need Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever I didn't have any money, I was burning Starbucks and Panera bread up.
Look, I know, honey, because we was up in there together.
Yes. But once I started seeing like, you know what, Starbucks is not going to cause me to, be able to, get out of this, rut I feel I'm in. And it's definitely not going to help me with retirement.
That part.
So that's how I wake up.
Maybe buying some stock in Starbucks will.
That part.
I want us to do another series about that too. You and I about stocks and all of that stuff because you have some good information.
Mm-hmm.
So if listeners remember nothing else from today's conversation, what's the one thing that you want them to take away about money and mindset?
It's just, once again, anybody can get it together. It's not too late. All you have to do is, just be able to sit down and be able to say, you know what, I got this. And then be able to talk to your money. Talk to those strongholds. Tell them, I am so much more than what you think I am.
Yes.
And the more you can say that, the more you believe it, the more that you can say, you know what, I'm going to do my work. I'm going to, do the homework that I have to do. Because like I said before, it's not an easy task. But just once again, being able to say, you know what, I did the best I could. Mama did the best she could.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma did the best that she could.
Mm-hmm.
They just doing the best they can to survive. But I'm still here.
That's right. And I lack nothing.
Exactly. And then the main thing is I tell people, go and find you a t-shirt or name tag and put on there, I am an atmospheric transformer.
Yes.
Shannon B told me that I am an atmospheric transformer. I am going to transform my life. I'm going to transform my family's life. I'm going to transform my neighborhood. I'm going to transform my community. I'm going to transform anything or anybody that I come across. Because now we're going from poverty to prosperity. Each one teach one.
Look, I didn't know you was going to get on here and start preaching. I feel that in my spirit. I felt that in my spirit. And I know that other people are going to appreciate it too. Thank you so much, sister, for coming and doing this for me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it more than words can say because this is a tough conversation that we need to have, because there's ways and there's money out there for everybody. But if you don't have a good relationship or know how to have a good relationship, then you can never, think about or believe that your dreams that you're wanting to achieve can come true. So, yes, I am. We need to put that on a t-shirt. Look, that's a conversation we'll have to talk about after the podcast.
Oh, you know it. That's why I say stay ready, so I ain't got to get ready.
Well, what an empowering conversation with Shannon Brooks on breaking free from financial fears and building healthy money habits. I hope you're walking away with practical tools and a fresh mindset to start your own money makeover journey. Remember, financial freedom begins with small, consistent shifts in how you think and act with your money. If this episode blessed you, be sure to share it with a friend who could use some encouragement too. Don't forget to subscribe to Mamas with Myra so you never miss an inspired conversation. And Shannon, if they need to or want to get in contact with you, honey, please give your information, websites, anything for people to contact you for more information about financial freedom.
Okay, well, now I'm old school, so I always tell people you can just, give me an old-fashioned phone call. My number is 336-252-8710. I am on Facebook if you look me up. My name is Shannon Brooks there. I know there's probably a ton of them there, but if you just look for the one in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 9 times out of 10, you'll find me. I do put a disclaimer out there that my Facebook page ain't saved. So sometimes I had to tell people and warn them, tread lightly when you come over there. Because sometimes you will request to be my friend. And I know, I'm like, I wonder which post did it for them, because a week later, they back in my people you may know section. So yes, just know, my Facebook page ain't saved. But people 100 with people all the time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would say those probably are the best ways, just to reach out to me, send me a message or what have you. And I always try to make sure I get back in contact, with people. It may not be right away, but I would definitely reach back out to you, within a day.
Well, thank you so much for all the information that you shared with us. Until next time, keep growing, keep believing, and keep moving forward. Have a great day.
Living in a time with no facts, just all opinions. Truth is, baby, this time is all gifted. Every moment with you around, girl, I'm winning, alive and so lifted, yeah. Don't wanna live my life with a mask on, or make it seem like every lesson should be a sad song. I've put it all in perspective. We got a right to be reckless. Let's take a chance on us. Give this a try, really test our love. See where it goes, see how we end up. You could be mine forever. We can't fear no stress. What tomorrow brings or what happens next. You ain't gotta worry, girl, I got your back. I'm always here whenever. We all need a love that can make us feel at home. Through the good and the bad, all the nights when you feel alone. And there's no place I'd rather be than here in your arms. Here I am, just a man giving you the key to my heart. I used to hide behind my lust, and I ain't even know how to trust. You came into my world, opened up my eyes, showed me I'm enough. And I can't deny or describe how I feel. One thing I know, girl, this feeling is real. If you're down for the ride, reaching new heights, I got an idea we can try. Let's take a chance on us. Give this a try, really test our love. See where it goes, see how we end up. You can be mine forever. We can't fear no stress. What tomorrow brings or what happens next. You ain't gotta worry, girl, I got your back. I'm always here whenever.